Look at over yours. Well, been a while. We got into some battery reconditioning. Got me a nice decent bloody split water that actually works. I've been on the 8650 bandwagon, but I made the mistake of buying these without reading the popular online forum I just stumbled across, and these are not genuine Samsung 35E cells. They're Chinese knockoffs. Something to be aware of. One I've got here. Got some LG HG2. There's a nice, good cell. One of one of my Milwaukee packs. I made that one there, and this Makita I knocked up with laptop cells. And that's based because laptop cells are only good for 5 to 8 amps tops. And yeah, it got me by for what I needed to do, but the cells inside there are Samsung good quality second hand cells, laptop cells, but they get a bit hot. So nah. So the rapid charger, you can't rapid charge those cells. Get too hot, so I'll call it quits on that one. Well, got a mouthful of food. Refurbish this pack. New BMS. Those are the original Chinese fraud cells that came out of it. Not very good. 2 of them died. There's 2 of them got hot. We bought that with those Samsung fake cells. Nah, worse than these. So, yeah, my camera cut out because the battery went out in the last cut. But I've finished off this little battery here. They had some Chinese cells in there, which weren't very good, so I've rebuilt that with LG 18650s out of a Dyson vacuum cleaner pack. They only had 1 cycle use on it, so oh no use of that battery side. Its heart lives right inside that, and that's a nice little handy little Makita 5 cell 3 amp hour pack, which is good for on the job, using this on the job. Nice and light with a small pack like that. Very light. That's good for when I'm on a ladder and doing things and lights and things. It's much lighter than a 5 amp hour. And yeah, the big one, 9 amp hour one there, like I rebuilt. That's a Vanon I rebuilt. The Chinese knockoff Vanon branded cells that are in there weren't very good. They blew the CIDs when I used the grinder, doing heavy work with the grinder. Now I had this put away, and I couldn't find this empty shelf, but some of the cells lived on, but the better cells that already lived on, but not for heavy work, for a power bank. Well, I ended up repacking this with genuine 32 cells, 3 amp hour cells, 20 amp discharge. So this is actually legitimately a true 9 amp hour pack. This is actually the Vanon spec of this originally was a 5 amp hour pack, marketed as a 9 amp hour, but it's not. So now this one is a true 9 amp hour pack. So for next to nothing, I got myself a really good battery. And that's good for the vacuum cleaner and the grinder and the blower. That blower is pretty heavy on the batteries. Quite a brushless blower. That works really well. That's really good, this one. Works really well. I do a lot of work with this. Yeah, it's much better than their other their old turbo Peppa Pig shaped blower. This is good for some things, but it ain't got to go like this little one here does. This one is much more versatile and actually very precise too. Got a 312 amp Milwaukee given to me. That's only been cycled once. So these older 12 amp hours and a 9 amp hours of these Milwaukees have dodgy BMSs deliberately by Milwaukee, just so they can sell a lot of dodgy batteries, and the money they made doing that, they pulled these off the shelves and they had money that they launched their Forge range. So I reckon they were sneaky what they did there. But I bought some replacement BMSs for these. and they're actually do the job properly at balancing the cells in there, because all those do is they get cell imbalance. Then they start saying the tool says it's flat, but the charger says it's full, because they do one bank in there that's fully charged, but the lowest point bank in there, and the opposite of however many, doesn't always happen, but some, the BMS will tell the tool the battery's flat, and reads when the tool goes to use or pull light off the battery, the lowest discharged pack of cells tells it that it's flat, and you get the flash is flat. You know it's flat when you press the button. But the fully charged bank of cells in there tells the charger that it's full. So it's actually cell imbalance is what kills these. But all you gotta do is get yourself a good balanced charger like an IMAX or IMAX B6 or a Turnigy balanced hobby RC charger, and manually balance the cells with that, and replace that electronics BMS, and it's fixed. Because the proper aftermarket BMS is in this one, and that one over there are actually doing the job properly. They're keeping all the cells balanced. There's a 21700 Samsung 40T cells in those they use. Quite good cells, but the yeah, it's the BMS is not very good from Milwaukee. Same with the 9 amp hour ones. You've got to replace the cells. The balancing BMS in them too. Okay. But a couple of them I had to send to Perth to get refurbished, but I got myself a good spot water, and now I got to know how to rebuild my own packs. So now I just refurbish my own batteries. Oh, my little son's crying. Okay, just let me do the video, hang on. This is a 6 amp hour pack instead of a 5. I refurbished this with LG HG2. There's a really good quality 3 amp hour. I think they were 30 amp rated discharge, high discharge cells. I got a good deal on those, so I rebuilt this with those cells, and this is a bloody good battery now. This was totally dead. All the cells are blew the CIDs. See, that was got that for scrap, and gave my mate the old cells for scrap, and rebuilt this into a good battery. So it's only cost me $80. $80 worth of cells, and I got a good bloody battery out of it. It's actually a 6 amp hour now, which is pretty cool. It actually works out cheaper to buy the cells and rebuild these yourself and buy a spot water. It still works out cheaper than buying actual new batteries from Milwaukee or Makita. The prices are ridiculous on those bloody things. And I got a Bosch one here which I had repaired, and some of these Bosch ones also love to not balance the cells. I think it's common with Bosch adored as well. Their BMSs are much more complex and fused and heavily built, but they don't. They have a problem with some of their batteries not balancing cells properly. This one's been refurbished, not by me, but it has a balancing issue. It doesn't. Yeah, it won't fully charge the 3, so you've got to take this apart and manually balance the cells. The BMS in there is not balancing them. And that's the drill I got from the old man's old workplace. A couple 2 more in there, which I had one with a broken gearbox. The electronics are good, and this one and that one had burnt out electronics, so the electronics were fried. But I put the good bits and made one good one out of 2. So we've got a good repair there. I might have to hunt around online for some electronics to repair that one. That'll be another good drill. One of the LEDs is dead. Only one LED works. Oh well. Now, these have had a hard life. They're not that old either. 2017. The other ones in there, which are parts, are 2019 dated. They had a hard life though. But we've got one good one so far working. More batteries here refurbishing, car batteries revolving, and nice little Life PO4 portable one there. I could use to jump start people. It's a nice little 400 compact Life PO4 battery there. I've got a smaller one in here, a little tiny one, which is good for A little good for portability and practicality. I carry that around sometimes and help jumpstart people. It's nice to have in a car, especially if it's a lithium iron phosphate battery that's in there. Works really well. I also got this fan given to me in bits. It was in pieces when I got it. I rewired it, and rebuilt it, and reassembled it. Nice little fan. You don't get them like that anymore. Good old Australian made. Other than that, it's been too busy. Too busy at work. Too busy at work. Too busy at work and kids, so. Other than that, nothing much has changed in here, but got a bit dusty. Also, I've scored some CRTs. A Commodore 64 monitor, that's a nice score. 1992 made that one. Okay, from the garage sold a cease the state clean up. I got that, and I got a nice old fridge with that too, which that was also a freebie. The door was missing, so I put the door back on it and put the gasket on it. That kick panel was missing, unfortunately, but got to fix that so I can open it and replace the thermostat. I've jumped the thermostat and it actually works really well. Old Kirby K3 compressor in there. This thing works really well. Yeah, it was his old band's, and he died in his I think he was 87 when he died, and he only used it once and it sat in storage for 50 years. So that's a nice low-hourred fridge. Anyway, I better tend to my kids. Anyway, thanks for watching. Good day, yours, well. I'm going to place a screen in this camera here that I'm filming this video with. $20 for a new one of these from AliExpress. Actually, it's a compatible, genuine replacement for this camera. Bit of a tricky process to replace the screen, but it's fixed. Now, a thought occurred to me, since I do a lot of exit emergency lighting at work, the odd job, the good little odd jobs to fill in some time. Now, some exit emergency lights use these, especially the emergency lights, use these 26650 Life PO4 cells. Well, I scrapped the lights and kept these because if you were to buy these cells on their own, they're not cheap. You can only buy lithium ion ones locally, but these Life PO4 cells are special order. They're close to $50 a bloody cell. So rather than throwing them out and wasting bloody resources, I keep all these. Now there's a little circuit board in them. I've stripped a couple because I had to test them. So they're rated at 3.2 amp hour. But they exceed that rating. That's a good thing. Now there's little circuit boards that are on them normally when they're in the exit or emergency lights. This charges and discharge protects the cell. Now there was a water in it, but that cell that came off was fine. It was about half a volt, but it recovered nicely. I leave these on the cells because what I'm going to do, since they're a C cell, the 26650 is a C cell thickness, 1.5 times that of a C cell. My old boom boxes, that runs on 9 volts, so you've got 6 C cells in there. I want to make up a little jig with these protected cells, leave that bare so I can connect to it on the boom box, but I'll extend the end of that with a button top positive, solder this onto it, and that'll be a 3 volt replacement for 2 C cells. So if I could just make up a jig to extend it, say 3 of these in that boom box, I could run that boom box off these. So you get a little bit of what's that, 9.6 volts, not going to hurt it. It'll be beneficial. And with the circuit boards in there, they're protected from discharging and going too flat, so they just turn off and shut the boom box down. Rather than, yeah, so you get, it's a win-win. You're using the cells, and then what I'm going to do is get some 26650 holders from J-Car, modify them so I can just put them in the holder. Then get a couple of 18650s of blown CIDs, ones that are open circuit, solder my wires on there, And then that'll solder to my jig that holds my modified 26650 batteries. And that'll go in there to hold it, and this goes in here, so I can use it to charge it. Because you can only, you can't really, you fit an 4 8650s modified to my jig. I can charge 4 of these up at once in one of those. So yeah, I make some custom holders and make some wires, and yeah, that'll work. G'day viewers, well have a little Chinese power bank sitting here, and that was sitting there. My spare record player bloody cartridge was sitting there, which is a little bit smoked out. I'll explain why in a minute. You already figured this out, didn't you? That was there, a little Chinese Kmart Anko power bank was sitting in there. Anyway, having dinner, and all of a sudden I had a fucking almighty bang in here. What the hell was that? Opened this door, this river full of smoke, and I found it launched down there on fire. Lucky it was sitting right here. There's how it was burning on the floor. The bloody battery just committed suicide. So stick to good cells when you're doing this processing laptop batteries. Be very careful. But this is this power bank was unmodified, so stock standard from China and from Kmart. So I have to clean that up now. Lucky it didn't damage. This cartridge is irreplaceable. So is that now I've got to find yeah, it's a spare one I had. I'd have to clean that. But they're all down here on the ground. That is lithium cobalt. If you pop these alkaline batteries, like I used to years ago, like about 2017, you pop these in a welder, they got a familiar burning smell to them. But this lithium 8650 smelt the same. It took me back to my younger years of blowing stuff up with a welder, blowing batteries with a welder, that same smell. Bits of forbidden snow. I blew this room out with a good little electric air blower, so I blew all the crap off everything. There's some molten copper there from the 18650 cell. Bit of scrap there. Lucky, that could have been bloody worse. I was very lucky. Bit of crap there, bit of one there, bit of molten copper there. Okay, the battery camera just been recharged. Yeah, I've cleaned all the cobalt composition from the battery, the black stuff. This is just a little cheap ass underneath of the bottom here. AliExpress battery with a BMS that self-manages when you use any charger. The BMS self-manages itself, so I can use this little adapter here, running a Cryobi for this leaf blower. I've docked it up. I butchered a dead buggered celled 2 amp hour Ryobi. Put a Makita adapter on it. I made a Makita to Ryobi adapter with this cheap 12 amp hour, if that, fraud battery from China. So it's charging with this, and the BMS in there is doing its thing as it's supposed to. It's not a regular Makita BMS, and it's just a BMS that takes a standard jack and plugs in, and the BMS does the rest. It's doing the same thing through the adapter. But here's a limit to that power bank. There's a green Chinese cell. There's some scrap copper there. Smells good. And there's that. And this was laying on the ground and red hot. Lucky it was out of the way of burning things. Very lucky. The USB port that was on that, God knows where that went. If you had a firewire lightning fast USB, that's how you do it. Just shut it off, and I have not found it. I don't know where the hell it went in that room. The doors are closed when this blew up. It was all closed up too, so where that USB socket went is beyond me. Like, it's melted the solder off, shot the inductor off the board and all the components off the circuit board in a flash. It's a Homan code, which is now Anko. 2018 date code, made in China. There you go, it's some nice and burnt there. It was perfectly intact. Lucky I didn't have it in my pocket, and where it was sitting on the cupboard there was out of the way, so lucky no property was destroyed. Extremely lucky. It's a good thing I was home too, having dinner, my wife and kids, and I had my money. Yeah, that made us jump. It was like a 12 gauge going off. Like, what the hell was that? I was like, uh-oh. And I was saying that I eventually knew exactly what it was, and yep, sure enough, I went before the smoke. I found this on the ground, on the side of that room, and on the tile where that cell red hot, and this was red hot flaming next to it. Lucky it was not close to anything flammable where it was sitting on the floor. Extremely lucky. But these cheap ass power banks, avoid them, they're not safe. Just not safe. Never trust China with their fraud batteries. So even this is sketchy buying this from AliExpress, but since I had this apart in the BMS, I've looked at the BMS, it's all self-managed. So this is protection on the cells. This probably wasn't self-managed, being a cheap ass Chinese power bank. Wouldn't have been any protection in it, just a basic power bank, a very basic circuitry, and the pressure inside that cell was just amazing. Bulged it out, and this the CID tripped, and it blew the whole end of the cell out. It tripped, so it blew the CID and the whole complete top end of the cell out, and that shot across the room and didn't hit the windows luckily, but the shockwave from the bang would have been enough to crack the windows. There's some of the wrapping. Yeah, some of the lithium composition and the foil, the copper foil, and there's black burnt residues all over the place. I just finished cleaning it up and mopping it up and blowing it all out and mopping it all up and yeah, vacuuming it. It's that cobalt up. It's just an ICR 18650, so the cobalt part of it in there and there. That's made a hell of a mess. Yeah, to clear my socks, clear my hands, it just charcoals and rubs on everything. Yeah, just something you've got to be aware of when you buy cheap power banks from China, especially places like Kmart, Temu. So most of the stuff Kmart sells is bloody junk. So especially if you buy if you're in an 18650 cell, which is something to be very aware of. Always be aware of these sorts of dangers. Like I do power tool battery repairs myself and build packs myself. And I always go for the genuine LG and genuine Samsung cells or Molly's cell or any of the major Panasonic or whatever manufacturers of cells, Sony Murata. Any of those manufacturers you stick to because they have a good reputation for safety, and follow the data sheets. So always follow the data sheet when you charge each cell, or if you've got the latest chargers you want to capacity test them. Follow the data sheets. When you got doing balance charging like I do with the iMax B6 to balance Milwaukee set packs and Bosch packs out, follow the cell manufacturer's database and look up the numbers in the cell and study the database, and it tells you the exact maximum current, and stick to those limits and what the manufacturer of the cell recommends. You'll be fine. So yeah, just a bit of safety there for you. They're not lithium-ion batteries are not toys. I've got some light PO4 cells in this form factor. They are a lot safer, but they're not high current like for power tool use. They're like a 3.2 volt cell, and they're designed for they're from exit and emergency lights. They're good for like running radios and wind up torches and solar lights. They're great for solar stuff like that, but not for power tools. So yeah, especially power tool cells, the amount of power they push out makes it even more dangerous. Something to be very aware of when you're into power tool repairs, battery repairs. So you got to know your stuff. If you're just starting out, it's best to watch these sorts of videos other people have had in the past and know the manufacturers of cells and follow their recommendations always. They're there for a reason. Anyway, yeah, it's charging. Getting there slowly. As I said, the BMS is doing its job. This is a slow charger anyway. These are not rapid chargers, so that's alright. If you do have aftermarket, run aftermarket Venom, especially Venom batteries for your power tools, recommend using an older non-rapid charger to charge them. I found they're a lot nicer on the cheap ass cells that they use, and they balance better and they last longer. Another thing, if you are actually building sets and packs for your power tools, make sure you get the proper cells, as I mentioned earlier, that have the design of a rapid charged, like 18650 Samsung's AIM30Qs, LG HG2s. They're designed for power tool usage and can be designed for rapid charging. But as I said, always follow the data sheets from those manufacturers, and yeah, you'll be fine. Anyway, yeah, this wasn't charging and I wasn't using it. Luckily, it was just sitting there, where I had it on the top of the cupboard, not doing anything, and all of a sudden it just went bloody bang. Something must have failed somewhere in this cell. Just yeah, something majorly has gone wrong. Something majorly has gone wrong. Something majorly has gone wrong. Anyway, that'll be enough for now. Thanks for watching.